Round of the year. All right, we're gonna the new kid on the block, Stefan Krishnak from Cleveland.com or something close. I'll get it.
Ryan, you got this chance through camp to kind of evaluate some of the moves you made this offseason, the players you brought in, staff changes you made. How do you feel going into this season about kind of taking care of that unfinished business? Do you feel like you're at the offseason to put yourself in a spot to reach those goals?
Yeah, I mean, coming out of preseason, you want to have some of your questions answered for sure. You want to have them all answered. You make assumptions, based on what you see in preseason, and then once you get into the season, you figure out what those things are, and the ones that are accurate, you keep enhancing. The ones you don't, you just you got to address, and I think that's what we got to get done here as we head into the first couple games of the season. I think we had an opportunity to build some depth at certain positions, which is important. As you said, what is this season going to look like? That was one area that we knew we had to build in the offseason. We felt like we did that in terms of the talent acquisition and the roster, but you also have to go on the field now, put it on the field, and work on the techniques and the fundamentals that we have to go put on the field. Learn the scheme in all three phases, which started back in the spring, but we'll find out here once we get going, but yet to be seen. But I feel like in this preseason, there's been an edge to our team. I feel like we've been consistent. I think it's been back and forth, offense and defense, which is usually a good sign. So we'll keep grinding on this thing. We got a mock game going on Saturday in the stadium, and then come up for air on Sunday and start game planning for Akron.
Austin Ward.
Ryan, it felt like maybe a week ago that Tegra was close to earning a starting nod. Has that solidified, do you think, this week for the group on the offensive line, or is that going to carry over the next week?
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to play at guard. Whether he starts, we'll probably decide here coming off of Saturday, but he's definitely going to play unless something drastic were to happen. I think he's earned that opportunity. How much and if it's the whole game, and we'll decide that as we get probably through the weekend. But for sure, he's earned the right to play in this game, and again, we'll wait a couple more days to decide who the starter is going to be.
That position feels so much different than the quarterback, where maybe you could rotate throughout. And do you feel better about the overall playable depth in that spot?
Yeah, I do. And a lot of it had to do with because we had to put guys into some starting roles, and it's all positions, but certainly in the offensive line, when you're taking reps with the 2s and 3s, and all of a sudden you get pushed up with the 1s, you better tighten up fast, and you get an idea of how guys can hold up, especially when you're blocking our defensive line every day. So I think that was something that was definitely addressed here, this preseason. I think Austin Saraville stepped up in a big way, with Donnie being out, and then Carson can play both guard and center, which is good. And we've actually Zen has done a nice job as well. But it was good to see Austin. He moved from guard to tackle a couple times, and even with the 1s, he was in there battling his tail off. So I think we have built some depth there. But again, we got to go play some games and see where we're at.
Rob Aller.
Ryan, what's the main thing you want to see out of the O-line that maybe you didn't see last year?
Yeah, again, whether it's whatever happened last year is last year, but I know that the message to our offensive line is we want to be the hardest playing offensive line in the country. Now we got to play with technique, but at the end of the play, knock the line of scrimmage back and play with your hair on fire as hard as you possibly can. There's a lot that goes with the playing in the offensive line. There's a lot of communication. There's a lot of things that have to get into place. I think Seth has done a nice job of communicating. He understands the offense better now. He takes control up front and brings everybody together, which is great. But to me, that's it. Now we could list a bunch of other things, but to me, we got to move the line of scrimmage. We got to be just playing with our hair on fire and knocking people back and playing physical. And that's to start the game, and that's to end the game.
This is a destination spot for wide receiver, quarterbacks, for DBs, maybe not for O-line. Do you see that differently, and how do you get over that hump, I guess?
No, I don't see it that way at all. I think we'll see what we got this year, but I feel like we got some really good young players in the system. I think that we should have the best offensive line in the country. That's the standard here. It has been for a long time, and so we'll keep pushing towards that this year. And I think everybody in that room would tell you the same thing.
Tony Girdman.
Ryan, how's the situation at will linebacker shaking out right now? How do you foresee that going next week?
Yep. So Sonny has really stepped up and played well. He's made this transition from safety to linebacker very well. I think he did a nice job in the spring, but you could definitely see as he went into the summer, just bigger, stronger, being more comfortable closer to the line of scrimmage. It's different when you're closer to the line of scrimmage. He's doing a better job getting his hands on offensive linemen and getting off of blocks. Using a better job, doing a better job with his hands. I think he understands the communication. The linebackers always have to be involved with the front, and they got to be involved and fit into the back end. He's doing that. I think he's looking forward to playing in a game and getting an idea of what it all looks like. But I can tell you in practice, he's playing fast, he's playing violent, and I think he's he does a nice job of taking the meeting to the field, being very intentional about his work, but playing really hard.
Is he the number one right now?
Yeah, I haven't talked to Jim because we'll make that final decision here over the weekend, but he's certainly the leader in the clubhouse.
Jim May.
Can you tell, Ryan, Seth McLaughlin, can you tell he's been there, done that? Is he projected that to the offensive line? You understand what I'm saying from a leadership standpoint, a grown man?
Yes.
How does that just come about? How does that show up?
A bunch of ways. It's just poise. It's not getting rattled when coach barks at you. It's okay, I got this. Let me get it under control. It's seeing something in practice and being able to adjust on the move. It's being prepared when you walk on the field. It's recognizing how hard you have to play at the position. It's kind of all of those things into one. But he's got great communication up front. He talks to the guys. He's moving quickly in there. And when you have experience like he has, the game seems to slow down at times. Yet, he seems to be playing at a fast level.
Spencer Holbrook.
Ryan, you've seen a lot of true freshmen get on the field at wide receiver. Do you see that in Milan? And have you seen him in the last couple of weeks take a step to where he may force himself into that rotation?
Yeah, there was a point where he got a black stripe off, and I feel like he took a step in the right direction. When you come in the summer, it is very difficult to get on the field, especially early in the season. Whether he does or not, we'll see. But if he continues to practice the way that he's been practicing, then he'll give himself a chance to be in the rotation midway through the season or later in the season, which is similar to some of the wide receivers we've had before. You've seen some of those guys get some reps early in the season, but then make an impact later in the season. I think that's probably more his path right now. Now, he shows up and starts doing great, then, we'll give him the reps he deserves. Where like Jeremiah's in a different situation because he came in here in January and he was a little bit ahead. Anybody who comes in January, to me, I don't look at them as a freshman anymore. They've been here, they're in the program, and we expect them to contribute.
Stephen Means.
You've been living in it for a while now, but you've had 2 scrimmages. You have to assist on the mock game on Saturday as well. Now that you're not calling plays, how do you see yourself spending your time during those scrimmages, and maybe are you picking up on things that maybe you weren't noticing before just about your team because you're not head deep into a play sheet as much as you have?
I'm still in there, right there, talking and communicating, but in the scrimmages we've had, it's been offense versus defense, so I've mostly been on the offensive side, still kind of going through all those types of things, and there's a lot to work through this year just with the play clock, and then what I mean by that is, the coach-to-player communication inside of 15 goes off. Just there's a lot of things that go on there, and we don't really get notification on that. So I'm trying to, just help Chip with that and some communication that way, personnel. But I'm going to be very much involved with special teams. I think with the 2-minute warning, there's some strategic things that are going to go on at the end of half, end of game that I got to really be involved with. But to your point, just overall, just looking guys in the eye, making sure that they got the right look in their eye. They understand. With the situation, what's going on in the game. I think that happens sometimes with young players. They're just like playing the next play. And that's not how it works. We've got to win the situations, and so all those things will come into play and making in-game adjustments. Being involved with on all 3 phases. Watching the game on a tablet to try to identify what happened in the last series. I think all those things will be happening.
Dan Hope.
Ryan, have you guys made a decision on who the starting punter will be yet?
Right now, Nick is going to be the starter, And that competition will go into next week. But right now, as we head into the weekend, he is the starter, and the plan is for him to be the first punter to go out in the game on Saturday against Akron.
What has he shown you to earn that job?
Yeah, he's got a strong leg. He's made it a good transition into the country, but also just playing football and not Australian rules football, which is very, very different. The snap to kick has really improved. That was one thing. He's a taller guy, so the ball has to get out of his get off his foot faster. I think he's done that. His hang time has been good, and he's been more consistent. You'll see, he'll kick a few that'll just go right out of the stadium. He just got a strong leg. So we're looking for that consistency. He's shown that here most recently. So he's got the upper hand right now.
And last question, Jeremy Birmingham.
Ryan, I don't know if it's because Will maybe took a little bit longer to make a decision in December than some of the other top-of-the-line quarterback transfers did, or because maybe there was a thought he wasn't going to be the starter at Kansas State this year. But it seems like people have viewed him kind of as a game manager type of quarterback. After 8 months with him, where do you see his ceiling, and what is Will's special trait to you, and where do you see him taking it from?
I see a bunch of traits there. I think the first trait is size. He's big. He can stand in the pocket, and he's strong. So that's the first thing you notice about him. Again, whether it's standing in the pocket with poise, I think that's another trait that he has that's excellent. He feels the rush, but he stands right in there. I think the next trait is just his top end speed. He can run 22 miles an hour at that size, which there's not a lot of guys who can do that. So I think that's an extraordinary trait. And I would say his overall leadership, command in the huddle is another something that he's really grown into in the last few months when he's been here. And then his accuracy. He's been very accurate since he's been here. And when he knows what's going on and he can anticipate what's happening, it looks right. You just feel it. And he can hurt you, a bunch of different ways. So, his ceiling, that's going to be kind of, up to how he plays this season. But, I see a player who has a lot of great skills that, translates well to the next level. So, we'll see. But I know his first focus is on winning games around here.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.